I'm in the shower going, oh, that would have been fun. I'll tell you, last night I spent an extra 10 minutes in the shower thinking of you. Is that awkward?
That was a little awkward.
Controversy.
That was a little awkward there. I didn't know you were going there.
That's going to get the views. That's got him in. That's got him in.
What's up, podcast? This is a special episode. I was asked to do an online training for our parent company, Royal LePage, which is Canada's largest real estate company, 18,000 realtors. I'm very, very grateful that the team at Royal LePage Canada reached out to me and asked me to do a training on what we've been doing with the podcast and all the videos and all the content that we've been pushing out. This was essentially a dream of mine about a year and a half ago when we started the podcast. Was, wow, I can't wait until more people are going to want to do this. It's kind of my way of helping the masses in our business. I was taught by a very, very good friend of mine who became my mentor, and now it's my turn to pass it on. And so you're going to hear my training to the 18,000 realtors that we have here at Royal LePage, and I would love, and it would mean the world, and I know I always say it, but I really, really mean it, podcast. I need you guys to give me a little bit of feedback. Let me know what you thought about this episode and any of our past episodes. Thanks a lot, guys.
REC Experience presents Real Estate, Entrepreneurship, Leadership with your host, Jas Takhar. The REC Experience podcast is now on air.
All right. I think we're going live. I think we're live. We're live.
We're live.
What I always hate about it. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in today with us for this actually kind of special webinar. This is actually the first time we're using Zoom. My team's using Zoom. And I have Jas with me, who's going to talk about becoming a digital game changer, which is something that very passionate of me. We both we've talked a lot about everything that we do. Now, for those of you who are just tuning in, I want to remind you all that there is a chat, so you can feel free to chat. I love seeing chats amongst each other. There is also a Q&A, and I'm going to hassle him with some questions later on. That's part of what my goal is, to take as much information as we can out of Jas and his time with us. He's recording. He was recording this morning, recording this afternoon. He's got to get to business.
And we sell real estate here too.
That thing, right?
Yeah, just a little.
Just a tiny little bit. There you go. We got some people tuning in. So thanks so much.
Awesome.
One of the things I like to do, and to give our panel and the people who are on our webinars a little bit of context, is just, I'm going to throw up a quick little poll. So if you could just let us know kind of where you're from. It gives us a little bit of context about who's on the webinar. So I'm going to throw that up. It should pop up on your screen. I'll give you guys just a few minutes. Just gives us a little context to know where people are coming from. And
yeah, that's going to be cool.
I debated here.
What did you think?
Putting just Royal LePage signature as an option. Because
1,100 Royal LePage signature people. So that would be pretty cool.
Right. And we can see here the...
look at that. Hey, Ontario. Come on, Ontario. Keep it up.
Keep it going.
Keep it going. Oh, BC's it's coming on up. BC's catching up.
I told you always. Yeah, this is... Are we now... Did we...
I love this. I love this little thing that you got going on here, Mike. Great job.
Yeah.
Got some people in Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. I feel like I'm in a geography class.
That's right.
PEI,
Welcome to today's webinar, Geography 101.
Geography 101.
So thanks also for people tuning in the chat and letting us know. Port Elgin, Toronto, Royal LePage, Kelowna. We love seeing that stuff. I'm going to share this poll with you guys. Overwhelmingly from the GTA.
Not that surprising.
Well, I figured...
They know a GTA guy's on, a Toronto, born and raised in Toronto, so they want to see one of their own, I guess.
Yeah, well, I figured too, if our feed goes down, we'll blame the people in the office who are streaming
yes.
this, right?
Yes.
What are you doing?
What's going on here?
Well, there you go. So thanks so much, guys. And I love having people on our webinar know that we are actually coast to coast. So literally from BC all the way to Newfoundland. And, one of the reasons this is such a cool topic is because of, and we're going to talk about your podcast and what you do, but the ability to really touch an international audience. Yeah,
look, the internet, I was just telling somebody on a podcast that I was a guest on earlier today that the internet's still pretty early. Like It's only about 25 years old. right? It's starting to get into its maturity. I think it's very, very underrated where this is going to go. But look at us. I mean, we're sitting here in our Toronto studio at Shops at Don Mills, and thanks again for coming and doing this in my studio. I really, really appreciate that. And yeah, we're broadcasting right to anyone in the country, and obviously with video and podcasts and stuff, it's right across the world. And like our podcast, we get the opportunity to see where people are listening and where they're doing their downloads. We have some people in Indonesia and Singapore, guys in like India. It's nice to just see that they're listening all over, right?
Yeah.
When I started it, I never even thought about that. I was happy if my mom and a couple of my buddies listened.
And usually they're like, you're like, did you listen? They're like, yeah.
Like 2 minutes of it. Well, you heard your voice and that's it, right? But it's really underrated, this internet thing, in my opinion, anyways, because it's only 25 years old, and I think this has a lot more. Like the internet is going to be giving us a lot more in terms of the ability to grow businesses, and people just need to find what their niche is. But I know we'll go into that.
So that's one of the things that we want to talk about. You know, you were recently featured in the Real Estate Magazine.
Yep.
Big article about you talking about how, and that's where I actually picked kind of the title of this whole webinar is becoming a. How to become a digital game changer, because that was the title. And it talked about really your heavy investment in moving away from traditional marketing to digital.
Yeah.
And that's some of the stuff that I want to talk to you about today. So it said like about, and then, so that started about, 2018, April 2018.
Yeah. So the first podcast episode that we launched was April 2018. Mm-hmm. And at that time, it was really just me with not even this type of setup. Really a $75 mic from Staples, nice. A blue mic. We plugged it into a computer. My executive producer, Laura Stewart, who was helping me at that time, she didn't even know how to get it out to the airwaves. Like we had no clue. So she, being the help that she had a huge help getting this all started, YouTubed how to start a podcast, and
nice.
Like how to get it up on Anchor and SoundCloud and iTunes. But it was just us, and that's it. And it was in a little boardroom here at the office. So that was back in April 2018, and obviously now we're sitting in a studio, which is also at the office. But then we started to invest more into the equipment because we just wanted to attract other guests and bigger guests.
Yeah, and that's something that was talk. I mean, we talk about the guests that you have in there. Where do I have? I got a little thing on here about it. But, you're talking about Scott McGilvery, Phil Soper, who I haven't even had on my webinars, FYI.
Shout out to Mr. Phil Soper, who not only was a guest once, but twice. He actually caps off. It's kind of starting to become a tradition because we do ours in seasons. We're in season 4 now, 85 episodes deep on the podcast. And he usually caps off our seasons, and Phil, I mean, he's just a treat to have on. He's just an amazing guy.
Yeah, I wish he'd be on ours. Anyways,
come on, Phil, get on Mike's.
Get it together.
Get on Mike's podcast.
Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yes.
Satish Bala.
Yeah.
Josh. I mean, it's crazy. And you talked about in the article how you decided to make this investment, and that's what I want to talk to you about today. Is just about kind of look. We have a lot of people who are on here. It's a rare opportunity for us to get, somebody who is, even number 3 Chairman's Club, which is amazing nationwide for Royal LePage.
Yeah, shout out to my team. I mean, there's 32 realtors. I have a business partner, Simeon Papaelius, him and I have been together for coming up to like 15 years now. Essentially the brother from another mother.
Yeah.
And he does a lot of our back end stuff and our commercial stuff for our team, and allows me to go a little bit more on offense now.
Yep.
And do different things like a podcast, do more videos. But yeah, our team does a little over 700 transactions every year. And we decided to make the shift online, right? Yeah. 700 transactions.
700 transactions.
Yeah. That's why I was laughing, because a lot of people think all I do is podcasts, which I love. It is really my third child, the whole podcast and everything.
Yep.
But, we're not shy to meet with clients. In fact, that's what we probably do best.
The cool thing, I was listening to somebody earlier, and they were at a conference. They said, 700. You got to think about it. 700 lives touched.
Yes.
700 people,
yes.
Families, kids, schools, all that stuff that you've interacted with.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this switch. And you mind throwing the keyboard over here for me for just one second? I just want to answer one little question.
Yeah.
Just to let people know that this is recorded. We will be sending it out.
Where are we looking at? Where's all our listeners and viewers today?
Yeah. So we got
Ontario's kicking everyone's ass. So where's our friends from BC, Manitoba, and everything? Okay, BC's starting to do its thing.
Yeah. Well, I've taken it down. So we're not.
Shout out to everyone right across the country, guys. Really, really appreciate you signing in. And if you're listening to the recording, thanks for taking time. From when I started all this, just to, we were talking off air, right? If we could just have one person who was listening, we were happy.
Mm-hmm.
But now for someone to take the time and actually want to learn, I kudos to you for taking the time to wanting to learn, but from me as well. Thank you.
Yeah, man. This is why I have a pro on. It's like, thank them later. Thank them later when they stick around. So let's talk about, your commitment to this digital marketing.
Yes.
I want to know, if somebody's here right now, somebody's in the webinar and they're going, I've been thinking, that's why I assume they showed up. They're going, I'm thinking about doing this stuff.
Yeah.
What were the major changes you really undertook?
Well, I think just major changes was just getting started and figuring out what was going to be the medium that I was most comfortable with.
Right.
So essentially being self-aware with understanding at that time in April, I was not comfortable with all the cameras. I think we have like 4 or 5 cameras running right now. We have lights, we have the webcam, the mics. We have
2 mixers.
2 mixers. I was not comfortable definitely with the camera. Okay.
Yeah.
So I knew that, this is not going to work for me. The videos are not going to work for me. Then I was like, well, neither is writing. Like that's obviously a very common way that people learn is that they read, but I have trouble writing. Like I don't write long emails. I don't even actually own a laptop or a desktop. So for the last 1.5 to 2 years, I do everything from my phone.
From your phone.
This is my computer. This is what I do. I have support staff that help me obviously, but I do everything from my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I heard the word podcast.
Yeah.
And at that time, April, it was probably actually late February, early March of 2018. I Googled what a podcast was just to kind of get an idea, like how do people actually consume this medium? And I was like, oh, it's a mic. It's audio. I've been in sales and service, real estate 15 years, sales and service for 25 years. And my whole life within that 25 years career, I was very comfortable on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's something that I always making sales calls, answering calls, even as a kid, my parents used to make me to order the pizzas. And so I got very, very comfortable with being on the phone.
Yeah.
And I was like, this medium makes sense for me because there is no cameras and I don't have to write anything. I could just speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, understand that I know there's somebody watching and listening right now thinking, well, I would love to do a podcast. I would love to do video. Okay. But I might stutter or I can't get my words out. This was me. I do have, somewhat of a mild stutter at times because thoughts are moving in my head so quickly. I sometimes have a hard time articulating.
Yeah, keeping it up. Yeah,
keeping it up, right? And so I knew that might be a problem. Mm-hmm. Okay, and so it took me, about 2 weeks to understand that at the end of the day, no one really cares like what you're going through because they're all worried about themselves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like everybody's watching and listening now. They're probably over the fact that, Jas might not be able to articulate something or he has a stutter or he doesn't look straight in the camera. Like whatever it is.
Well, right. Exactly. Nobody cares.
Insecurity is nobody cares.
Yeah.
And so the podcast for me was the most comfortable medium that I found. And so then it was just a matter of getting out there, making the commitment and consistently doing an episode every week. And so I said, look, every week I'm going to come up with an episode once a week.
Okay.
I don't care if it's 15 minutes or an hour and 15 minutes, but I'm going to put something out to the world. And at that time, it was all real estate related for the first, I'm going to say about 14 to 15 episodes.
Yeah.
Myself and our executive producer sat down and said after the 17th episode or so and said, starting to get a little mundane and boring, speaking about the importance of a home inspection, speaking about the importance of a lawyer, like all very important stuff in the real estate world. But I started to find it not as, and thank you for that, not as exciting. And so then we sat back and said, look, what are some of our other passions? And she was kind of posing the question to me. And I said, look, I love sports. Okay. And I know you have a shout out to you with your podcast, the Fantasy Football Podcast. I love that.
I won't give it the name.
You don't have to.
You can, but we'll talk later.
We'll talk later. And entrepreneurship and me being an entrepreneur, going through the ups and downs was something that I was very excited about. In fact, I stopped reading books a while back and only consumed audiobooks. And so I thought it would be, at that time, this could be a cool little add-on. Let's sprinkle on some entrepreneurship topics because I'm very passionate about it.
Yeah. And I mean, you're building your team. You had 32 people.
I have 32 people. My partner and I, we're being in a partnership in itself is not easy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we have a lot of love for each other, but sometimes I like to go left and he likes to go right and vice versa.
He was like, I don't want to do a podcast. You should never do a podcast.
No, he was very, very supportive of it. But I'm just saying,
yeah.
There's so many things in our business that sometimes he wants to go one way, me go the other. And I wanted to document that as well. Yeah. I also learned a lot from the leaders of the world, the Anthony Robbins, the Jack Canfields, the Gary Vaynerchuks. And I said, hey, if I can get some people in my room, in my office, in my studio, on my podcast that are in this realm of leadership, entrepreneurship, and real estate, and listeners and viewers can be a fly on the wall, well, I think that's bringing value. Yeah. And we haven't looked back. At that time, I said it was about episode 17. We started season 2 off with a bang. And like I said, we haven't looked back. We're at episode 85 or so. And so people do ask, like, why do you sprinkle in all the entrepreneurs and stuff? Because like I said, I actually feel that there is a lot of similarities between entrepreneurs, which all realtors are. Yes. As well as real estate purchasers, investors, because to me, it all really comes down to one thing. It's that taking the leap of faith. And so the content, it flowed really well between entrepreneurship and real estate. Cool. And now, so I'm actually going to launch a poll because I thought, you know what, again, we're going to do polls. So I have 2 questions for people. Just, do they know what a podcast is? And then the other question is just around creating video content, because that ties into a lot of what we've talked about. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about getting started. Yes, for sure. And so you should see a poll coming up to you guys. You know what a podcast is. Do you create video content? I've given you a lot of options. It's a multi-select. So let's see. And I've not tried this multi-select poll. This is really cool, man. I like this. I'm going to use this too. Yes, please. I mean, leverage it. I have somebody just ask about we've had a few people ask about the recording. We are recording this. We will be sending out the recording of it as well for everybody. So and I'll actually be using this as an episode anyways on my podcast. Oh, gosh. So everybody can listen over and over again on the audio version as well. So you're saying I should pick up my game? You should pick up your game. Okay, I'm working on it. Come on, Mikey. All right. Let's cut out this poll. Let's share these results. Let's see. So overall, I mean, big time. Oh, yes, 65% of people, yes, they know what podcasts are. Yes, they are listening. There's 10% of people actually who say they have no idea what a podcast is. Wow. Okay. So look, guys, to that point, a podcast is essentially a place where you can go hear someone on iTunes or Spotify talk about a topic. You can search. There's probably now, in 2019, a podcast on everything. And so it's just like, instead of consuming content on YouTube through a video, a podcast is something that you would listen to while you take your dog for a walk, or drive a car, commute in, go to the gym. That was one of the main reasons. And I am like a strong believer that audio will, in 5 years, it might take a decade, audio is going to trump video. For one reason and one reason only, is because we just don't have as much time anymore, right? Like the amount of people that I hear say that, look, I click into a YouTube video while I'm getting ready in the morning, but I'm not watching the video. I'm just listening. So for me, from an audio perspective, there's just less. You don't need extra time. I call it net time. No extra time is needed to listen and consume a podcast because you can do it while you're doing so many other things. And the next question is one that I really want to talk to you about, is just about saying, because I asked the question about how do they create videos, and most people said, I use my smartphone, which is awesome because I love it. We talked about, we talked about before this, and I wanted to actually point out, look, 16% of people are saying they're scared to do it. So at the end of this, we're going to remind them that, hey, so I don't know if our guys can see, because they can't see the sharing. They can see it now. Sign on my screen, on my back wall here says removing friction. If there's that's what we're going to do. That friction of being scared of doing it is hopefully something that we can help you get over. And at any time you can email me, call me, text me, DM me on Instagram. And that's kind of my mission really, is removing friction in people's lives, going from where they are to where they want to go. There's always something, right, that's holding you back. And it's that fear. It all comes down to fear. Even when we're talking to real estate investors, because majority of the transactions we do, the 700 transactions that we do, I'm going to say about 350 to 400 are with investors. It's always the fear. Oh my God, I'm going to get a tenant, and I'm going to like,
they're going to suck. They're going to get bed bugs.
They're going to ruin the place and all this. And it's just all these, it's a fear. And so that's what we're going to remove, guys.
Now, what I want to talk about is for those 29% of people who are saying, yes, I use my smartphone, which is awesome.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you about, I mean, you have a pretty big crew. For those of you tuning in, I mean, there was about 4 people setting this all up, making sure the lights are going. Like you said, the camera.
Give a shout out to my REC Media Squad.
Yes.
All right. And great tie-in. I have a full-time videographer, just so we let the listeners and viewers know how serious we take this. But I also will want to bring them value, because you don't have to take it to this level. We have a full-time videographer, a part-time videographer. We have a full-time graphic designer, and a full-time copywriter. So that's how much I believe in producing content of value. I actually have put all my dollars into the media squad, because I truly believe that it's that important. Now talk about your smartphone question.
Now, what I want to know from that is the common question I get when I'm on the road, especially in more rural places, is they go, I'm not afraid to hire somebody to do this, but how do I find the person? How do I reach out? How do I know that they're good? So you started hiring videographers, copywriters. How are you going about finding these people? How are you vetting them, interviewing them? Because we're not interviewing for an assistant. We're interviewing for a role that, in many cases, most realtors don't know very much about.
So when it comes to how I started with my first videographer / graphic designer, they're all interns. They all started as interns. Okay.
So did you go to get the intern? You went to university or college?
So we did that. We did put postings up. The first one we found on Indeed.com or Indeed.ca, and just put up an intern. It was unpaid. I know now you can't do an unpaid internship, but at that time you could. They literally made that shift on Indeed. You can use Kijiji, Facebook, Instagram, Craigslist. You can find people who want to work for free. And this is not taking advantage of them working for free. You need to provide them value. Now, I had the confidence that of experience of 25 years in sales and service and the 15 years in real estate, that I would bring some value to the intern. This was not going to be, you're going to work, 50 hours a week. And it was like, let's start off small. In fact, the first 2 interns that I brought on board, they worked, I think it was like 8 hours a week. Because I didn't need them for that much, because I wasn't producing that much content. But every video, every graphic, anything, my copywriter was an unpaid intern as well. He works full time now and gets paid because he brought value. But when we started, it was, hey guys, put your writing on it, put your signature on it. Let me help you build your portfolio. So when you go for a job at XYZ, let them know. And I think, again, going back to the phone skills, I think I'm going to give you a great reference. So when the boss at XYZ calls, I'll be able to help you out with a reference. In terms of how I hire, it's probably not suggested, but it works for me. I hire real quick. In fact, I don't read resumes because I just don't believe in them. Because anybody can make them up, right? My graphic designer, Steven, I literally saw him. I was like, do you know how to do these 2-3 things? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, well, you're going to make my life easier. You're hired.
Nice.
What happened with him, though, is as he got more comfortable, the creative started to come out in him, right? And you got a chance to meet with Steven. And then he can set up this whole room. He's a go-getter. He does things on his own. He doesn't really need to ask for direction. He knows he has the ability to do what he needs, what he has to do. He's allowed to do it. So I give them the autonomy to do all that. But I hire really quickly, right? Because if it doesn't work, I have a sit down when I hire someone and say, look, let's try this out for a couple of months. Because you might hate me by the time we're done with this. And if you do, that's okay. Or I might not just jive with you, right? We might not just jive. So let's test it out. And if it works well, we'll move to the next step. And it's actually how I deal with clients. The first thing I say to clients is when we're sitting and having coffee. So we don't call them appointments. We call them coffees. And we'll say, hey, how can we bring you value today? Because I need to find out, Mr. and Mrs. Client, what you're really trying to accomplish. And then, and only then, can I show you how I might be able to help, because I can't help everyone. It's just like if you're looking for something, if you're looking for a home in Toronto for $400,000, sorry, that's not going to happen. I can't help you. I'm not going to try to bullshit you to try to just get the commissions, right?
Yeah. Right.
And so in terms of where else can you find people to help you with becoming a videographer, a graphic designer, guys, all the socials I made mention of, but then something like, here's a simple hack for someone who's producing videos. Wedding videographers and wedding photographers are busy on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, because they're setting up for that weekend, the Friday and the Monday. Yep. And then they got to post-produce stuff. But when you, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and even some Fridays, they're not that busy. So they'll work for $150 for the day. Yeah. And you can produce a lot of content if you had them for 8 hours. Start very small. You know what we always say, Mike, around here, buddy, is how would you eat an elephant? They're my favorite animals. I'm not into eating elephants. I'm just saying, if you had to eat an elephant.
We're going to isolate that clip. We're going to put out, I'm into eating elephants. Right. You're like, whoa.
One bite at a time. One bite at a time. So start very, very small.
See, if we create a controversy here, this will blow up, right? I'll be like, oh my God, did you hear?
The video will go viral.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one thing I want to talk to you about is that question of moving, because this is the other thing that I hear from agents. When we talk about this digital stuff, when we talk about producing videos, we talk about, and then we get, I'll be honest, I get a lot of agents who are old school. And it's not about age. It's about a mentality, right? And they'll go, oh, I like to be belly to belly, face to face, toes to toes, nose to nose, which is great. But, like you said in your interview, you're talking about, 4 or 5 people a day are discovering you through your online content. They see a video and then they ask, hey, can we meet for coffee? Which is, who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want clients, 4 or 5 clients every single day reaching out? So how are you taking that digital content, your podcast, like you said, thousands of listeners all across the world, people in random strain, and then you're turning that into, because a lot of realtors would say, well, you're wasting your time talking to somebody from Australia. What are they going to do here? So,
in terms of some of the old guard, let's call them, saying that it's belly to belly, nose to nose, and toes to toes, I couldn't agree more. That's exactly what this business is.
That's not what I wanted, isn't it?
I know. I get it. I'm going somewhere with this.
I know you are.
Sometimes I'm going nowhere with anything, but this time I'm going somewhere with this. Is what we're doing from a digital perspective, it's just the gateway drug to get belly to belly. So we never lose context of what we're doing here. And I say we, but as the whole team, myself, my business partner, executive, like everyone. The goal is to always get people in front of your face. Now, the only caveat to that is, yes, there's live face-to-face, but I do a lot of Zoom. So the platform that we're using today, I think we're using Zoom, right?
Yep.
So Zoom, which is like a Skype for anyone who's watching or listening, we do a lot of coffees, and we actually literally have this cup here, and we actually send it to them.
Oh, no, really?
Right across the country.
That's cool.
Okay. We'll send it to them and say, let's have a coffee together. And we do it digitally, because just because you're in Alberta or Saskatchewan, if you're an investor and looking into invest into Toronto, then I still want to obviously meet with you. Right. So the end game is always to get face to face, and with the caveat of a Zoom video call. So how we're turning a lot of our out of province and out of country listeners and viewers into clients is exactly like that. We're educating, We're educating the masses about the real estate market here in the Greater Toronto area. Now, are we biased? Am I biased? Yeah, I'm born and raised in Toronto. Yeah. Okay. Born and raised in Toronto. I truly believe Toronto is one of the best places and safest places to invest in real estate. Now, we can have a poll on this and people will say in certain areas, and that's okay. We can agree to disagree. But me, I truly believe in it. I only invest here.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I'm speaking about Toronto real estate market, I don't like the people who want to invest in Alberta and Newfoundland. Like, that's cool. you're not going to come and do business with me.
Yeah.
But I'm looking for the people who are looking into investing into Toronto. And so that's the content that I'm putting out there.
And so every podcast you start with like, hey, this is Jas with real estate experience and Royal LePage signature. You can contact me at like, that's, how are they reaching out? So you're putting anything like at the end of every webinar, like if you would like to set up a coffee discussion.
I love that. I love that question. Please. So in fact, I believe in give, and then ask. Okay. So I do very, very rarely will I have a call to action. Other than, please subscribe for more content.
Yeah.
That's it. Now, because I believe, okay.
Wait, are you supposed, hold on. Please, you're supposed to say smash subscribe. My son watches a lot of YouTube. Yeah. You smash subscribe.
That's a new one for me. Huh? That's a new one. I haven't heard that.
Oh, you got to smash subscribe. Come on.
Yeah. Keegan, he's one of my younger videographers. Is that how it is? Is this the
He's
new
saying
word?
no.
Yeah. Smash subscribe.
Smash subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell.
I'm going to use that.
Like it if your name starts with an M. Dislike the video if your name starts with a J.
Well, see. Look, this is a great segue as well, right? The kids now, the younger generation, and I'm not kids like 12 and 14. I'm even talking about, but guys who are 25, 27, gals that are 22, 23. They're not looking at the newspaper for listings or looking at the newspaper for any information. It's a quick Google on their phone. They're YouTubing or they're Instagramming or Facebooking. Nowadays even TikTok. And so if you're not where people's attention is, you're going to get lost. You'll get lost in the shuffle because you're not where everyone's awareness is. But quickly going back to, are we actually asking for the business? Mm-hmm. So what I believe in, and this is me, and it might not work well for others, or you might not feel comfortable, but I give all the information, and then at times I'll make mention that, hey, to get more information, you can go to our YouTube page. You can go to our Instagram page. And because what people do, they do what's called a digital dive.
Yeah.
They'll find you if you're bringing value. If you're not bringing any value, they're not going to try to find you.
Yeah, because what's the point of keeping on searching?
Keeping on searching. Yeah. Exactly.
So in terms of that then, how are people reaching out? Are they're just literally reaching out to the podcast email?
Email, they're emailing me directly. Yeah. On Instagram, it's they're sliding into the DMs. On Facebook, they're leaving you like a private message. Again, obviously a text message. I give out my cell phone sometimes, depending on what the video is about. And it's not all real estate content, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah. There's just a lot of entrepreneurship content because, see, what I thought about when we were doing the podcast, it was always the dream to bring it in the office. And shout out to our brokers, Chris and Jeff here at Royal LePage Signature, because they believed in the vision. They believed in the vision that, hey, look, Jas is going to turn one of his offices into a full-blown studio. Our guys can't all see it, but maybe we'll take some pictures and you can put them up on the Facebook page or something, Mike, that I built this into a full-blown studio.
Yeah.
Now, I use this as an office. This is where I do my deals, right here. I actually meet clients. It's cool because clients will walk in and say, oh my God, I saw you. This is the studio. This is what, the old MTV Cribs line.
Yeah,
this is where all the magic happens.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And once I started to catch on to that, like, oh wow, people are walking in here and actually feeling good about walking into the studio, I kind of knew I was onto something. Mm-hmm. And so, again, they email us, they'll call us, they'll ask for a copy of our book. We teach people how to sell their own home on their own, knowing that only 2% of the nation ever does it. So we stop focusing on the 2% and only thinking about the 98%.
And so in terms of that, I have so many questions I want to ask, but
throw them at me, man.
Yeah. So do you still do traditional marketing?
So we do a lot of email marketing.
A lot of email?
Okay. So email marketing has done really well for us still. We're at about we have a list of about 5,500 and we have a 40% open rate on average. And that's a big sample size over the last 2 years. So we've done really, really well with our email. But it all kind of plays hand in hand. So we'll send an email with a podcast episode with a developer. Okay. Mm-hmm. We'll send an email with a content on the importance of using a lawyer ahead of time. So it's very valuable. Yeah. We still do postcards in certain areas for certain listings. And so we don't do it all the time. I don't think there's anyone on my team right now of the 32 realtors that's in any type of like newspapers or anything off the top of my head. So we don't do a lot of the traditional, but we still do, again, like I said, email marketing and some postcards.
Gotcha. So how much has this taken over your business? Because I mean, one thing we talked about, you were in a podcast, I think this morning, you're here with me this afternoon. And again, I know a lot of realtors who are going, well, he's sitting in a room doing recordings. This is what he does all day. So you're doing an episode a week. So you take 2 hours to do that. You got to plan, you got to think, you got to do, which I know you don't do any of it because you go, no, this is what you're supposed to be live. It's meant to be
100%. So all my podcasts are we put them up right after. Like we don't edit them or anything. In terms of answering your question, Mike, I'm going to say mentally as well, when I'm not actually even here, when I'm driving home or I'm taking a shower, it's 50% of my bandwidth, so to speak. The other 50% is the actual sales. And so we mentioned a couple of times that we have a team of 32. Out of the 700 transactions, myself and my business partner do about 150 to 200. So we do a lot of business.
Yeah, that's a lot
of business. I made the decision that I'm not going to leave the office. So I made this decision a year ago. Okay. I said, I'm going to do everything from this desk because it's the best use of my time.
Yeah.
Okay. So we do those transactions. I don't even have an authenticator anymore. Like, you know how to sign on MLS? Like, I don't do that because it's not a good use of my time to look at comparables and search and all that kind of stuff. I pay someone, one of my assistants, and because I'm willing to put all the money back into the business. See, I don't live a fancy lifestyle. You guys see, I'm wearing a t-shirt. You see this. There's nothing fancy around here. We don't, like, other than the equipment, because I'm willing to reinvest all the cash, all the money that we make.
But the equipment is back in your business anyway. That's
100%, right? Back into the business. And so I'm able to do the deals right from this table. We had a live podcast, just to give people some context. We did a live podcast this past Saturday. 2 Saturdays ago, in front of 280 people in the audience at a golf course. We put an event together.
Yep. 180 people?
180 people.
Gotcha.
200 on Facebook Live. Okay, so almost 400 people. We did a podcast. We did close to 30 transactions.
From that one?
From that. Somebody can do the math for our out-of-province listeners here in Toronto on a new construction unit. Our average gross commission on the front and back end is $20,000. Do the math.
And that's just what's happened already. I mean, arguably there's...
for the next year. Right. So today's, for one of my colleagues, his job is going to be calling out to people who did not purchase that day. Yeah. And so just to put it into context, we're looking at, approximately $550,000 to $600,000 from a live podcast.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Not bad.
So I wanted to ask you about that because, again, I'm representing here. I'm actually trying to represent the voice of a lot of the realtors who resist and fight back, and they don't want to do this. And they're going to say, yeah, okay, that's great, Jas. I'm sure you've had a lot of negative stuff happen. Tell me a story about something negative that's resulted as a result of your podcasting, your videos, everything that you're doing.
I would say when I started, people just commenting. I had somebody comment yesterday on one of the videos. I sat with Ryan Serhant for $1 Million Listing, and it made me crack up because I was like, yeah, it's one of those comments. And it was the guy who's talking about me, the guy who's interviewing Ryan Serhant, he kind of looks creepy, but yet I like him.
Oh, that's it. All right,
it wasn't that bad, but it started off pretty bad.
If I can start off looking creepy, but through my conversation convince you that, I'm in. All right.
I was like, okay, you know what?
You want him over.
Like, I mean, all joking aside, when I started out, you take some hits, right? You take hits in terms of time. I've invested a lot of time at the start, at the year, and kudos to my business partner again, because he more than anyone was willing to play and allow me to kind of go out and do this where, there was no return. Like, it's hard to quantify the return on the podcast or any of this branding.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's 100%. What this is for. And so what I've been trying to articulate to anybody listening and watching right now is take the word brand and branding out of your vocabulary and think of your online initiative as your reputation. Right? Because if you can build your reputation, what happens is, quick story, 8 months ago, I had a couple walk into this office. We sat at this exact same table. It was just moved the other way. And there was a couple. And I went into kind of the spiel of the project that we were selling. And the wife said, "I'm sorry to cut you off." And I was like, oh, damn, did I say something wrong? And she says, we know about all this. Like everything you're talking about, we've heard you already on your podcast and the videos that you do, the micro videos on Instagram and on Facebook. And we're ready to go. The only question we have is, can I get one under my name and one under my husband's name?
And you really, but I have the script that I'd really like to test out.
In here I have it,
yeah, exactly.
right? In here. And right away we finished up and I said to my team, I was like, this is why we did it. This is why we did this, because people are coming into this room and the sale has already been kind of done. Now it's just a matter of logistics. And is it going to happen today? Like, are they going to buy today, tomorrow, or a year from now? I'm 37 years old. I have patience, and from a macro perspective, like it'll blow people out their minds, because I'm just not looking for the quick buck. I want to be in this game. I'm just having fun with the game. Like I was telling you off here, can we just do this every month? Just come to my office and let's train people,
yes,
whatever they want to know. You know what I mean? Like the macro patience of if they buy now, next year, or the year after, I'm going to still be in the business. See a lot of questions coming. It's pretty cool.
Well, I see. So yeah, there's some. So one of the big questions that we got is just, where can I watch or listen to? Where can I see the podcast? So
awesome. Great question. So you can go to youtube.com/REC experience. That's 2 words on YouTube. Again, youtube.com/REC experience, or search on any podcast platform, REC experience. Oh, thank you. Yeah, you got a mug there. And a little phone cover.
Yeah. So,
so you're going to search that on any podcast platform.
And you syndicate your podcast to everything you can, right?
Everything. So that if you have that's why I said any podcast platform, just search REC experience. You'll see generally a yellow little thumbnail, and shoot me a DM or follow me on Instagram, and that's Jas Takhar, JASTAKHAR, and then the number 13 on Instagram.
Lucky 13.
Lucky. Yes, thank you, Mike. Not a lot of people say that to me. It is actually lucky.
So in terms of that, now, one of the things that I do want to talk to you about is, okay, we got some people who are clearly saying they want to start a podcast. They want to get this thing going because they realize that, hey, better start now. If you want to, I love there's an old saying, if you want to have a tree, the best time to plant it is 20 years ago. The next best time is now.
Love it.
Right?
Love it.
So
it's the same way I think about real estate investing, actually. It's the same way I think about, like, you hear it all the time. I wish I had. It's like, no. Like, you can start now and then start saying, I'm glad I did. Fun. Right? Like, change it. Like, it's just a mindset thing, but sorry.
I love it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that in terms of podcasting.
Yeah.
I'm a real estate agent. Cool. Yeah. I want to get into this. What do I do?
Look, if it's a podcast, you could start as simple as having your phone. Okay.
Yep.
Put in your headset that you normally use with a mic and start recording. And then you're going to put it up on any type of syndicating software, which would be either Libsyn or Anchor. Anchor is probably the easiest.
Well, we were talking about it, and I said I use Anchor for my podcast.
I use Libsyn, yeah.
Because we were only doing it for our fantasy football league, and thus I want to pay $0 for it. And Anchor does all the heavy lifting. It syndicates to all the platforms. You sign up once, you sign in. I get it on my phone, on my desktop. I can schedule episodes. I can do all of that stuff.
Yep. And in case people don't understand what, like, the syndicating and how it, like, you literally put it on Anchor. I think it's anchor.fm.
Yes, anchor.fm.
Anchor.fm. And Anchor will take that recording and put it to iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Podcast Addict, Podcast Stitcher. These are all the platforms that people can listen on. So like Mike said, like, they do all the heavy lifting. You just need to record.
Yep.
Now, there might be a question, and if nobody's asking it, I mean, I probably would if I was in there. So like, what am I going to talk about?
Yeah, actually, that's the question. That
is that okay? Sorry.
Any advice for a new realtor with limited experience, which I think is saying, hey, I don't know all this stuff.
I love it. This is why,
what do I
to me, Mike, podcasts are the best, okay? And I'm not saying that because I'm biased because I'm a podcaster, but it really is. And I'll tell you why. Because someone who just got their license yesterday, okay, can talk about them actually just starting in the business.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I tell agents all the time, like, just do a podcast about this.
Like what you're going through.
Yeah.
But here's why I really, really love podcasts, is because you can interview anyone you want. Here's something that I've learned about being a podcaster. you kind of are the cool kid, you know, back in high school, the guy or the gal who threw the house party became the cool kid. And I think I'm on this because I probably wasn't the cool kid back in high school. And now like I'm becoming that in the podcasting world because I get to call on, when you call someone, ask them to be a guest, 90% of the time, people say yes to you. Okay. So I would go out if you just started in the business and start a podcast and interview like the business owners in the area that you're from. So you're from Surrey, BC. Okay. Where all my East Indian people are along with me. And so, I would go and interview all the small businesses in that area. Here's what will happen magically. And it might happen. This is what will happen. Mm-hmm. When you're bringing value to the pizza owner, the pizza store owner, the dry cleaner, the tailor, the barber, when you're bringing them value and talking to them about their ups and downs in their business and what they think about, you know, how Surrey has changed or how Richmond Hill in Toronto has changed, you're bringing them value. What will happen is that they're going to share that episode with their friends and family. It starts to multiply out, right? And so if I always say to my team, if you know 200 people, then your network now is up to 40,000 people because the average person knows 200 people. Yeah. Okay. And so that's why podcasting is so cool because you can get guests, you get to leverage their network. Okay. If you just turn on a camera, don't even talk to the camera, you now can take clips from that recording and put those on little micro clips. Okay. You can put those little micro clips on Facebook and on Instagram and on LinkedIn and on you can put the whole podcast on YouTube. And then obviously we're going to syndicate it through Anchor for the audio version. Here's another extra step. If you hire a writer or if you're good, or you don't even need to hire anyone, you can there's apps out there that transcribe the audio and now you have a blog. Yeah. Put it on medium.com. You can throw that up on LinkedIn. So now you have one macro piece of content that you're chopping up into. So we're going to do, this recording is going to have approximately 20 to 25 micro pieces of content.
Fun.
Just because no extra time does it take for me. I don't have to record 25 new video clips now. Yeah. All the clips are here. Other than that elephant joke we made. I didn't forget it. We're gonna clip these out, and that's how I'm producing approximately 25 to 30 pieces of content on a daily basis.
Crazy. Now this ties into I think the next question that we got, which is coming from Constance Macria, who's saying, "What do you feel has been the best topic that people have most identified with?" Which I think is a good question. Your team is feeding these questions, right?
I have no idea. I can't see any of the no,
for the record,
shout out to all the questions. Really appreciate them. But no.
And for the record, Jas, with you and I was like, I got these questions. He's like, I don't want to see them. He's like, I don't want to see him. I want to go off the cuff.
I love to go off the cuff. I hope everyone appreciates it. I do speak in tangents sometimes. And in terms of topics, they vary. For me, I only speak about things that I'm passionate about. I mean, you and I had a joke, like the only two things I won't talk about is politics and religion.
Which we're getting to.
Yeah, that's on the second page. What I found that others have really liked is real stories. And so what I mean by that is that if you're thinking about starting a podcast, like document maybe a client, if they're comfortable with it, going through the process of buying their first home, going through the process of selling a home, going through the process of an investment opportunity. So probably our most listened to podcast episode, and as I look over to my executive producer, she's shaking her head, saying that it was probably Sue Murphy's, right? It's 0 to 11 properties was the title of that episode. It was because a lady went from 0 to 11 properties in 2.5 years.
Wow.
People loved it. And I'm talking, I've had Gary Vee on my podcast, Ryan Serhant, Josh Altman, Tracy Tudor, Mr. Phil Soper, CEO of Steam Whistle, Cam Heaps. Like I've had some really, really amazing guests, but that one that connected. That was the one that connected. Why? Because Sue Murphy, love her. Okay. She's a normal person and she just talked about going through the ups and downs of buying her going from 0 to 11 properties.
Now, in terms of getting guests, And I do want to, I appreciate the people who are asking the questions. I love it because they're giving us, we want to get what you guys want. And
I love this format. This is really
this is
cool.
fun.
Yeah.
One of the questions that I wanted to ask you is when it comes to to approaching a Gary Vee or a Phil Soper, how do you approach those people?
I just do it. It's as simple as that. I'm very shameless, so to speak, when it comes to going after guests. I'm very persistent as well. As I mentioned, I have 25 years of experience. There's no one above me. There's a dream guest that I have. And other than you, like second to you, is Kobe Bryant, for example. So I'll let you into what I'm doing. Like every 2 weeks or so, I know he's on the West Coast time.
Yep.
I'll wait. I'll see when he does a story on Instagram, which means that he had his phone. Because I know that he controls his social media, his stories and Instagram. So then I try to catch him, and I'll somewhat be a creep, I guess, and I'll reply to his story and say, "Hey, Kobe, would you like to be a guest on my podcast?" He's not replied back yet, and so I'm gonna keep on doing that until I get him. Just like any sales, like I told you 30 transactions. We lost out on 4 deals. It's the 4 deals that are haunting me. I'm very grateful and very blessed about the ones that are moving forward. But for me, it's the 4 that I didn't get. And I'm the same way with guests. I'm going to keep on going out. Gary or Ryan, Sirhan, or like all the names I mentioned. It was just a matter. I generally at night, every night, I'll go home. I do 2 things. One, I look for guests and I'll shoot out about 5 to 6 requests for interviews. A quick little hack for somebody who's starting is in the email, people who are you going after, the busier they are, don't write anything in the body of the email. Write everything in the subject. And it's like, "Hey, Mike, would you like to be featured on my podcast?" And that's it. Like, they don't have time. I'm telling you, I'm quite busy. I don't have time to read the paragraphs in there. In fact, I just reply back and say, "When's a good time to get on a call?" When I get those long emails. And so and then the second thing I do, and here's a great hack for somebody who's thinking about starting a podcast, or there was somebody who mentioned that they're scared to start. Become a guest on people's podcasts. So at starting of January, I think it was like December 20th or 25th, I looked at my business partner and the executive producer and I said, "My goal is to be on 25 podcasts this year." I just hit my 25th today in the morning.
Nice.
So I wanted to be a guest on 20. And how do I do that? It's the easiest thing, guys. There's one thing that podcasters and content creators need: content. And so you might need to shoot out 7 to 12 requests to be a guest, but shoot out messages through Instagram or Facebook or email, LinkedIn, and just say, "Hey, do you need a guest? I would love to be a guest. I'll talk about the Vancouver real estate market or the Saskatchewan real estate market or whatever, or the importance of getting a lawyer ahead of time before you actually put in an offer," right? So think of some topics and then just try to be a guest on people's podcasts, because here's the thing. You can use that content and then email that to your database, and your database and your clients are going to be like, "Oh my God, you were a guest on someone's podcast." That can get you started. I let my executive producer in on that that hack that I thought of. And she was just on a podcast on the weekend, and now she's going to go out and do more. It starts to, it's momentum, right? You got to get started somewhere.
And then, questions that are coming in is just like, are you tagging your content? Do you have content that's actually, how do you have content that's actually seen? From Tanya Howie.
What's up, Tanya?
Someone said to me that you can have the best content, but if it's on a shelf where no one can see it, who cares? So
definitely.
How do you get your content?
Well, that's like having a billboard in Nineveh, like to sell Toronto real estate. It doesn't make sense. So here's the thing. 2 things happen. What I truly believe is, I'm not a big width person. I'm about depth. And so what I like is that when I do a podcast episode, it automatically gets listened to and watched by thousands right away, because I send that out to my network. So I have my REC insiders list that are going to listen to that right away. Okay. And so now you got to take time, right? This is not going to happen overnight, guys, right? I'm still kind of in my head. I'm still a baby at this. I'm at the infancy stage, because I know it's going to get a lot bigger. But how do you really get it listened to the masses? You do sponsored ads. You have to think of ads to get people to your content. That part of the game has not changed. This is marketing. Like, It's the only thing that's different is that it's done digitally.
Yeah.
But here's the cool thing. Never before could you send out an ad in a newspaper and make sure it got into the right person's hands. Digitally, you can. So I know that Mike is a fantasy football, he's a connoisseur. He knows everything about fantasy football. So if I wanted to run an ad, I would say, hey, are you, do you have a fantasy team? And I'd run an ad based on you being a connoisseur of fantasy football.
Well, connoisseur is a little much, but yes.
You have a podcast, dude, on it. It's pretty cool, right? And so running sponsored ads is something that you need to test. You need to see what works. Like I can run an ad for a 5-kilometer radius around my office to men and women from the ages of 35 to 36. Okay. And just run it to that target.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it reached their phones. Like it's really cool how much data we have now,
it's
right?
Scary and beautiful. It's scary for us.
But even before you get there, and I think it was Tanya, just get started with the content. People will come. Like, and I'm not trying to be all philosophical, but it's like, the Kevin Costner movie. If you build it, they will come as long as it's valuable. Now, is it all about you, or are you actually trying to give value to the listener or the viewer? You'll get, there's an old saying, like we'll know really quickly if this is for you. Like is this a commercial and a promotional type of content for you? Or are you actually giving value? And if you're giving value, people will come.
So I'm gonna do one thing, and then we're gonna get into some of the question. One of the questions I had there, but I wanted to launch a poll. One more poll. Do we have a hard out at 3? Is that what's going on?
No, I'm good.
Oh, okay, we're going forever. All right, sucker.
I'm good till 3:30.
Yeah.
Am I good till 3:30? I am.
Am I good till 3:30?
I'm just looking at.
Can we take a live call?
You definitely
have some clients bring in here. You should do that. That'd be fun.
I actually had a client who called who's done about 4 or 5 deals from us. So that'd be actually interesting. I'd love to do a live call. I'd love to do a training on calls, by the way. That's actually my real expertise is sales calls. I'm just putting that out there.
I don't have the poll.
I love this stuff.
It's fun.
I love this stuff.
So I'm going to put up a quick poll just on your digital versus traditional and what you find to be most valuable. I want to throw that up there. Some people's asking where they can see these polls. These polls should show up on if you're using the Zoom app, if you're using it on web. However,
what kind of equipment do I need?
We're going to get that.
Okay.
We're going to get that. So if you should see the polls come up, and then when I share them, they should be shared. So I just want to see where people are spending their marketing dollars. So up top here for you, Jas, you'll see the first question just around where people are spending their marketing dollars.
Look at that.
Digitally.
That's amazing.
Yeah, where people are spending their marketing traditionally. And then where do they spend more money on digital versus traditional? And then finally, which do they find to be the most effective, which is interesting. So let's let those come in. While we're letting that come in, do we want to answer the question about gear? Because one of the things you talked about in your article is you realized you needed to up your gear game.
Yeah. So that came into effect once I realized, like, okay, now I want to get the cameras going and I'm comfortable. Like now you could tell, as we mentioned, there's 3-4 cameras running. I love this now. Mm-hmm. I also wanted to attract bigger guests. And so by me wanting to do that, I knew that, okay, it's time to invest into better mics. I started to just watch more podcasts, Gary V's as well as Joe Rogan's. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, look, just visually it looks better. But to actually get started, the question is, what kind of equipment do I need for a good quality podcast? You can get, in my opinion, and you can talk about this as well, you really can get $100 mic. I got a $75 mic, and the audio was great. The audio was actually fantastic. It's called a Blue Yeti. Is that
this
mine
is not, no, this guy I bought for $30 on Amazon. It needs phantom power, so it needs a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I mean, $30 for this little guy is really not. You can get an arm, like we have the arms here. These are like $20 on Amazon. The amazing thing is, with so much available online, you can actually buy, I think for $50, you can buy a 2 microphone setup from Amazon and just start using. And one of the things that I do on my podcast, because we don't have the arms, is I actually tell people just to hold it. And they often say, shouldn't I have a headset? Yeah. And I say, no, or you never want to put it on a stand in front of them, because then what happens is people lean into test and they lean out.
Yes.
And by holding it in your hand, I said that way, if you have to cough or something, you can turn it away every once in a while. That's why at one point I adjusted your mic or kind of moved it because I've gotten used to kind of telling people like,
And the funny thing is with these arms, I love these because I do a lot of this.
Yeah.
My team hates it because they have their cameras set up. I don't even know that all these cameras are here. I'm just kind of in the moment. What I did want to caution people about the equipment though, do not be that wannabe tennis player who goes to the store, buys all the best racket, the best tennis shoes, the wristband that has the headband, but only plays one game. You know, like you don't, and then you go and play the guy with an old beat up racket and he beats the crap out of you. Like, just, you don't need all the equipment to get started. Work your way up. So invest in, like, literally, guys, just shoot the first podcast episode. Just do right into your phone. Yeah. Do that 7 times.
And again, even for Anchor, you actually, and it's not a promo for Anchor, but it's because I use it because again, it's free and I'm super cheap. Yeah. And you can even record segments. You can add music. You can do all that in it. Yeah.
And you can YouTube everything. Like, you can YouTube literally how to add intro music. And if you don't know, ask your 16-year-old niece or 14-year-old nephew. They'll figure that out.
And that's one of the other things I wanted to mention in terms of hiring the people is getting the people, because I know Steve and I were talking about, talking about gear, and he was going, "Oh, I just found this thing on record." And now you say, "Hey, look, you tell me what you need, tell me how much you need, and you go research it," because I know I love doing that.
Yes.
And this is not even my job.
Yeah. And so I don't have the bandwidth for it because I don't even understand.
Not your expertise.
It's not my expertise. Like, what mic's going to be good. You know, I laugh with Steven sometimes. I'm like, Steven, this is getting loose for me. Like, it's not, I just need it to be more comfortable. So if you can figure that out, that'd be awesome. But whatever equipment they need, I know that once I made the investment, I made it for long term. So our cameras are going to need replacement. And so we're starting to look at what we can find used. We're finding out what we can get on lease, or there's research and development grants. Like, there's a lot out there once you start diving in. Again, it comes down to just do 2, 3. We're talking podcast episodes specifically, but guys, even just videos, it's like a selfie. Hey, I'm just walking into this property here at 123 Main Street, and I'll give you guys a tour. But in the meantime, if you have any questions about what's happening in the market, get at me. Like, it's that quick. I just thought about it. Like, you know what I mean?
You just did it.
Just did it. I'll probably post that.
So let's have a look at the results of our poll just to see. Have a look at this. 78% are saying social media advertising. I'm going to share the results here.
I love that.
And it's interesting. Look at the traditional client events gifts is the number one thing. And then most people are saying down here, most people are spending more dollars, 64% into the digital, 78% are saying
no reason like that. No wonder that Royal LePagers are just some of the best realtors in the world, because the poll's telling us, like, look where they're spending money. To see a client events and gifts, that really excites me. It really does, to see that a lot more people are thinking long term, right? Because you necessarily don't get the return on giving a gift to somebody right away. Like us, when somebody has a coffee, they get mugs, they get a copy of our book. That's the first time
they won't let us leave. Yesterday, you were just like, "Here you go," and I was like, "Oh, I didn't." You're like, no, that's just the deal. Like, I was really excited to hear you send a mug across the country.
We're going to invest the $6 or $7 with a client before they even do business with us, because we're okay to risk that. Because guys, we're in a pretty interesting business and industry where it's a very high volume commission dollar that you receive. Like, you got to reinvest it. If it's digital or on gifts. But I'm so happy to see that in the poll that they're actually doing both. It's kind of cool.
And, I'm going to answer just another question that somebody had about just saying, if you have really good content, but one of the things that Jas talked about is, again, leverage that content, so if you created a really great video, chop it up, create 10-minute segments, create whatever, post it out there, put it in your IGTV, put it in your Facebook. One of the things you're going to find, and that I've seen a lot, is you'll notice people who do content and are content marketers is they will reuse, rehash, repost. They will put, some of the podcasts I listen to will go, "Oh, we're playing our best episodes from last year. Let's keep going back to that well. Let's leverage it for everything it's worth," right?
Everything. We squeeze every little drop out of the orange that we possibly can. So the one podcast episode that I'll do, like I said, it will have to get us 25 to 30 pieces of micro content. And then we'll actually, that's even without just chopping the actual audio episode, because then I'll do little teasers on top of it. So that's why podcasts, in my opinion, are amazing, because you have a guest. And guys, being a podcast host is one of the easiest things in the world. Like in my opinion, right? Like if you think about it.
I just came with a list of questions.
Came with a list of questions.
And all the heavy lifting.
I did all the heavy lifting, right? And I get it because I have guests on, and yeah, I'm going to have a piece of paper. And I started like this for the first 10 episodes. It was like, okay, great, Mike. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself? He does the heavy lifting. What's your business about?
I do.
When did you start? And it's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you have all this content, but you're the one who's bringing it to the marketplace. So you look like you're the expert. You look like, and you become the authority, which is something that I've seen happen over the last year and a half or whatever it is now. And the return on the investment, even from a dollar perspective, is, if not 20x, at least 10x of the return.
So wrap it up with, just one last question here.
Yeah.
Because it's a good, how long is your one podcast session?
So they range. So I go minimum, I'm going to say about 30 minutes to an hour. It doesn't matter who's the guest. I like to kind of stay within the hour because I like to come with as much energy as I possibly can. And I'm in that like hour kind of spurts. My videographer, Clem, who just walked into the room, he hates when I go past 45 minutes because it just means more editing work for him. But at the end of the day, I like to keep it around that 45-minute kind of mark, because that I know gives me enough content that I can start ripping out later. And then I got to do sales, right? That's what pays the bills. And so right around that 45-minute mark.
Nice. And then, you want to go through them?
Good, man. Let's go.
It's 3:03. So we've been going for an hour now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. One question here from Sewell Delan is just, how is your hit rate with the international audience?
So what do they mean by hit rate there?
I'm assuming they're saying like, how is this translating to international business for you? You talked about having an audience.
I apologize. Yeah. So I don't do anything internationally, like from a business perspective. I do right across the country. So if I can just kind of do a little shift on that question, like from within the country, I do a lot of business and refer out business to Vancouver realtors and Alberta realtors right across the country, because I'll have investors in Toronto that have invested a lot with me. Now they're wanting to do something explore in Montreal, and so I'll put them in touch with an investment realtor that specializes in that area, and then obviously collect a referral fee.
And this is what I'm hoping for you is, again, building your realtor network out there, right?
Thank you, buddy.
And I think one thing that's interesting about that answer, and again, I'll tie it back to the realtor I hear who pushes back. And they say is, well, everybody is my target audience. And what I love about that is what you're saying is, no, I'll let the international people, they want to know what's going on in Toronto, even though it's not related to them. They want to know about investing, and it ties in. But by making it to a specific group, we can talk about specific things.
Yes, and the fundamentals of real estate investing are generally, you can take them to any country in the world. Like I always say, drop me anywhere in the world and give me a couple of days. I just need a couple of stats and I'll get an idea where the market is. Give me months of inventory. I don't need to know what the average price is, because that's just really kind of media talk. And that's what the papers like to talk about. But show me what months of inventory are. I can start to determine if it's a buyer's market, seller's market. And so people across the world, they understand that. And look, guys, you'll be shocked of how many people want to invest in Toronto. Mm-hmm. Because it's very, very safe. It's a safe haven for investors. It's why the big pension plans like to invest in Toronto. And that's the niche that I believe that we've carved out. We help people buy their first home and move up and move down, but our real niche is investment real estate.
And now in terms of that, want to know.
Somebody asked about mobile device. Samsung Note's
awesome.
Note 9. I'll probably go to a Note 10. It's my computer. I have everything here. Yep. I use Google Drive exclusively.
I had to pay for that.
You had to?
I had to pay you for that. I'm a big Google Drive pusher, right?
Yeah.
Anybody knows me.
And I put all my videos and my team. We have a big WhatsApp chat with my team from a media squad as well as the sales team that they just send me all my links for the content that I need to. I post all content, by the way.
Yeah.
There's not one piece of content that goes out from Jas, like on my personal Instagram pages, as well as the Instagram page for rec.canada that is not done by myself, because I need to know what people are saying. And so reading comments of other people's posts is a great way to reverse engineer what content you should be producing.
Yeah. And the other thing too, in terms of that is also, it doesn't really matter what device you're using, but play around with it, learn how to use it, right? How do you create a video? How do you do, how do you do what you want to do?
Yeah.
What about somebody here, Stephanie Kazaka has just asked about client appreciation events. Do you do that? You don't do that?
We do 4 a year. And
I figured there'd be a big answer.
That's probably one of our biggest marketing initiatives every year. We're probably going to push that to about 7 to 8 a year in 2020.
Major events or micro events?
Great question. I do one major event. It's called our Spirit of the Season in late November. Not everybody celebrates Christmas, so we kind of just celebrate the holiday time.
Here comes religion.
Here
comes religion. Hey.
It's in partnership with.
I tell you, we get a lot of views. We do controversial stuff. We get a lot of views.
So we get about 300-400 people that come to our event.
And I want to say, you said in partnership with Sick Kids. So that's
in partnership
another part.
with Sick Kids. Yeah, that's really important to us. Myself and my business partner, we both have 2 kids, very, very healthy kids. But I know not everyone's as fortunate. And so we do what we can. And so we do that event. And then we do micro events. And so our micro events are just meetups, networking. We don't actually even sell anything, really. There's 1 or 2 we might sell an exclusive investment opportunity, but it really comes down to I just want to see Mike's face. I want to see my clients' faces and let them talk to each other. That in itself, guys, brings value because Mike the plumber might want to give business to John the electrician or whatever, like the home inspector and the lawyer. And it doesn't need to be real estate related. Just bringing people together. It goes back to that mindset of whoever throws the party becomes the authority or becomes the cool kid.
You use a CRM for your email marketing?
Yes, no brainer. I mean, if you don't even have a CRM in 2019, guys, get out of the business. I'm not kidding because you're not going to last. Oh. You need a CRM. I don't care what it is. To me, they're all the same. I use HubSpot marketing. I don't want to get paid by them or anything, but it's just worked really well for us for the last 2 years, but that can change. You need a CRM software. We make 50 outbound calls a day to our clients, just asking if they need anything from a plumber for their investment opportunity, for their investment property. So we give them real estate concierge services at no cost. We're always thinking ways of adding value. And so one thing that has worked really well for us is I have a real estate concierge, Tyler, who calls out every single day to 50 people, connects with about 25 to 30 of them, and just asks, hey, Mike, did you need a plumber? Did you need anything from a real estate perspective today? No? Okay.
Yeah, I need my doorbell fixed, actually.
So we'll send you a handyman. And so he'll go, Mike might be in Saskatchewan, and Tyler's job is to vet somebody out who can fix his doorbell, give him, and at no cost, like the doorbell he's going to pay for and the time, but not the setting up. Because we don't, if you can find, it's why Uber is Uber, because they actually even just sell the perception of time. You know how many times you call an Uber, you go downstairs and you see 12 empty cabs go by you, but yet it feels like we're saving time. And so we're always thinking of ways to just add more value.
Well, and what I like about that too is you're saying before they ask, I will offer. Before they ask, so they know when they need to ask.
Yeah,
just call them up.
Want to be top of mind.
So one of the things, the last thing I want to talk about, because I do want to, be mindful of your time, but you always wrap up your podcasts with your one tip. So what's your tip? Do you want me to start? You want to go? How do you do that? How do you do this? We do rock, paper, scissors for it? How do we start?
You start.
I start. All right. Yeah. So my one tip.
You're guest in our studio today, so I want you to start.
So I'm going to say my one tip is to stop getting so worried about the details. What kind of equipment? What kind of mic? What Jas said it a few times. Take out your phone, go Google podcast app. Like that's how I find Anchor. I Googled, give me a free podcast hosting service. Found that. Great. Let's try it. And then just start. And as you start, and this is one thing I didn't get to, but like, how do you kind of plan? Because I see a lot of realtors who start a blog and then 6 months in, they're gone. Start, make it simple. Try to do it, don't go so crazy on production at the start, because you just got to get doing it. And as Jas said, as he started doing it after 10, 15, he started realizing, there's a passion that I have that I want to share. And that's what happens. When you start, you start discovering, you start thinking about it. Suddenly, like you said, it's up to 50% of my bandwidth mentally because I'm in the shower going, oh, that would have been fun. I'll tell you, last night I spent an extra 10 minutes in the shower thinking of you. Is that awkward?
That was a little awkward.
Controversy.
That was a little awkward there. I didn't know you were going there.
That's going to get the views. That's got them in. That's got them in. But because I was going through mentally the questions I was going to ask you and thinking about the audience I'm going to have. And my goal is to get the people here to get hopefully 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. Hey, one of you to go, you know what? I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'm from Melfort, Saskatchewan. Okay. What am I going to talk about? I'm going to stop doing the easy stuff and hope nobody talks to me and leave an anonymous postcard. And I'm not even going to pay for posts. I'm going to shove it in your door. Hopefully it falls in your lap and you'll be like, oh, I need to sell my house. No, I'm going to do the hard work and I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to sit down and start recording this stuff. And next time somebody asks a question, I'll be like, hey, you know what? Here's my answer. By the way, I recorded a really great episode about that. You can go check this out if you want to really dive deep into it. And
it gives you more tools in the toolbox, right, to work with. And so as salespeople and as business people, as much tools that you have in the toolbox, the better that the better chance you have of building relationships. So I think they're amazing tips. But you said 1, you did like 4.
Sorry, man. But like you said, you didn't start with the studio. You didn't start with this mural. You didn't start with this stuff. And but you built it up. Yeah. And that's what you got to do. You got to start today to build it up and do something that you like. So that's
I love it. 4 tips.
Sorry.
I'm going to leave you with 1.
You're more experienced.
I love it. I love it.
This is my one chance.
Look, I love that you bring that much value. That's actually awesome. And again, thank you for having me. So to anybody who's watching or listening, here's my tip is don't make this another webinar that you saw and you didn't take action. Don't make this something that's going to, it's a Tuesday afternoon live recording. So if you're listening to it later, when at the end of this, I want you to stop whatever you're doing and with a pen and a piece of paper, figure out of the 3 mediums of learning what you're most comfortable with. Are you going to be comfortable with a camera? Then do video. Are you going to be more comfortable with audio? Do a podcast. If you're more comfortable writing, do a blog. Pick one. Be self-aware of what you're more comfortable with. Do not think about, oh my God, I can never do video. You're already going and training the brain to go down the no mindset. Let's think with abundance and the yes mindset, where I want you to think of the one out of those 3 ways, what are you the most comfortable with? And then just get started with your first blog, your first podcast, or your first video. And it could be as simple as, hello world, I'm getting started today. And this is my first blank.
So Jas, a few people asked where they can connect with you. As you mentioned, Instagram. So just Google his name, Google REC Experience. You will find it out there. That's how I found it. It's as easy as that. But JAS TAKHAR 13
at 13 on Instagram, youtube.com/REC Experience, or shoot me an email directly at Jas, JAS at reccanada.com. That's JAS at reccanada.com. You'll have 2 C's in the middle there. Shoot me an email. Tell me what you thought. Even if you think I sucked and I should never do another podcast again, or any type of videos, please. I'm a big boy. You can't tell, but I'm a pretty big boy. Shoot me a message. Let me know what you thought. I would love the feedback. It really means the world to me.
Well, I want to start off by just thanking everybody for tuning in, because without that, we don't have an audience and we don't have all the questions. We would have sat here in silence for most of that other 30 minutes. So true. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in, Jas. I want to thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
You're welcome.
And I love that you're here telling other agents to do what you do.
Yeah.
And get in your space.
The pie's big enough. I just have the abundance mentality. And so even if we run out of pies, we'll just bake more. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you so much.
Welcome,
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
This has been the REC Experience Podcast with Jas Takhar, an REC Canada production.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching and listening. Please take a second right now to subscribe and follow us on whatever podcast platform you're watching or listening. It means the world to me. Thank you.